Today, one of my girlfriends is coming over. Her name is LaVonne, and I actually haven't seen her since my baby shower for my fourth baby. And I can't wait to catch up with her. And I don't know why we don't see each other more often. I feel like I say this all the time, but I like her a lot. She's a former Olympian, and so her dedication and her commitment is unmatched. And she's so freaking smart. She has an MBA and she's an SEC attorney. So talking to her about how you're actually legally supposed to raise private money and not end up in jail. I feel like some of the things that gurus talk about nowadays will get people in a lot of trouble. So I love hearing her feedback on those things. And she also does some really cool projects with people who are building homes for the first time. And her fiance is a flipper. That's actually how her and I met. Him and her were at a meetup together, and he was speaking, and I knew her fiance. Her fiance is a twin, and he came up and introduced me to her, and she was like 8 months pregnant, and we instantly hit it off and sat together throughout the meetup. So I'm really excited to catch up with her today. So I'm gonna go get ready and we'll get started. So I'm like, okay, let me message LaVonne and find out what she eats.
Yes.
And your list was nothing mushy, no eggs, nothing sweet, no dairy. What else was it? Was that it?
That's pretty much it.
I'm like, okay, we're making steak.
Simplest solution.
Okay, so today we're gonna so I've been trying to lose baby weight. I feel like I've been pregnant my whole life, and I'm permanently losing baby weight. So I'm constantly like protein and vegetables, right?
Okay.
But with 5 kids and they all want to eat steak, you're gonna go broke quick, right?
Yeah.
So do you eat filet
Yes.
mignon? So if you bought all your kids and you had 5 of them filet mignon, it'd be a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
So I went to the butcher. This was a couple years ago, actually. And I was buying a couple fillets and something different. And the butcher's like, tell me what you're trying to do so that I can help you, which is the greatest thing about going to a butcher instead of the grocery store, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, did you know that filet tails taste the same, but they cost like 1/4 of the amount? I'm like, okay, what's a filet tail? Because I don't eat any other kind of steak. I'm like the piggiest meat eater. And I'm like, I won't eat it if it doesn't taste like a filet. So he talked me through it, and he's like, a filet on the cow is like this long strip, and the strip starts to narrow at the end. But because that end of it isn't a pretty round filet, which is what people pay a premium price for, they cut those strips off and they put them in a pack, and they're filet tails. They're the same meat, they're just not the pretty circle.
Oh, wow.
And then I can feed the kids all filet, and it doesn't matter because it's like 1/4 of the price of buying a filet. So now we use filet tails for everything. So we're gonna cut it up today and make it almost like a hibachi, because I love eating hibachi, but then it's got all that bad stuff in it. So we're gonna make the at-home version of hibachi with some steak and some zucchini and squash and some onions. Anything you see here you don't like?
I like it all. Onions are my favorite.
Are they really?
Yep.
Do your eyes water when you cut up onions?
No.
Really?
Funny story is, when I was a child, I was the only 3 or 4-year-old who I ate onions like apples. So
Shut
yeah.
up. Okay, we'll
all
put
the
you in charge
people
of the
would say, you want McDonald's? And I'd be like, nope, I'll have an onion and some lettuce, please.
Okay, you be in charge of the onions.
Okay.
So we're gonna put them in this bowl, and we'll move over to.
How small are we gonna make them?
We're gonna dice them so that they can go with the zucchini and squash. So it's been a while since I've seen you. Your daughter was actually still in the Duna stroller when I saw you last.
Yes.
How old is she now?
She is 2 1/2. So her birthday's in August. And she is officially believing that she's about 5 years old. Like that's how she behaves, and that's the size she is. So it's been a crazy sort of like speed up. I'm like, you went from not moving to running really fast.
I feel like when they start walking, it like changes everything. Whether it's their attitude or their person, because I guess they start communicating a little more at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, because how old were you when you had her?
37.
So you had done all of your Olympic stuff.
Yes.
I probably shouldn't word it as stuff. Your whole Olympic training and career.
Yes.
Then did you go to college at the same time?
I went to college first, but I was in law school when I went to the Olympics.
Right. So you're going through law school, you go to the Olympics, your work trash is over here.
Okay.
You got all of your business stuff, and then you had a baby in. Because
Yes.
I did this, I had my first child at 27. So I have the baby, I've basically been pregnant the whole time, right? So my routine had to be like, how do you do this with a kid?
Yes.
But I bought my first property the same month I got pregnant with my first baby. So you kind of had the opposite. You had the Olympic career.
Yes.
You went to law school. Did you start a law firm?
Yes.
Is your dad involved in that?
Nope, we own a mortgage company
You
together.
own a mortgage company with your dad. And so how do you transition then from like full-time businesswoman? And you even kept up, I see your Instagram, you keep up the exercising and everything. How did you add in baby to this? Because most moms crash during that.
So a good amount of it was intentionality in making sure I got to still be chasing the dream that I was on. So I hired a full-time nanny who
Okay,
comes.
so let's talk about what full-time nanny means, because
Okay.
my husband is from Asia, and his parents say full-time nanny. But full-time nanny means that woman lives with them. She's there. She cooks. She cleans. She takes them to everything, and they're virtually, I mean, they'd be offended by this, but uninvolved, right? Because the nanny's doing everything. So nanny in America can mean a lot of different things.
Yes. So when I say full-time, I just mean like they work full-time hours. So she works 45 hours a week, which is Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 p.m. And she takes the baby through Montessori schooling. So I have a nanny who was a CPA by training, so she's really smart.
Of course
she speaks
you do.
fluent Spanish, so she speaks to the kids in Spanish, and she
love that.
picks them up, cleans, cooks, and all of the things.
Okay.
But that takes so much off of what we have to do in the house.
Yeah.
They're like, I can be focused at work and then come home and like just spend time with the kids.
Yes.
And with Josh.
I love that.
And so that was important. That was almost like a deal. Like, these are non-negotiables for me to have a baby.
But you have stepkids too, right?
Yes.
How many?
2.
And how old are they now?
8 and 13. And so we're all girls family.
Shut up.
Yes.
Okay, I have to confess. So I knew, what do we call him? Your baby daddy?
Yeah, he's my fiance.
What?
Yeah.
You got engaged?
We got engaged on Christmas.
Shut up, I did not know that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, you waited how many years to get engaged?
So that was right after our 4th anniversary. Yep.
Well, congratulations. I'm
Thank
excited
you.
for y'all. When's the wedding?
We are keeping the same anniversary, so we're going to get married on December 4th, 2026.
I love that. Okay, so I knew your fiance before I knew you.
Yes.
I can't tell them apart. And I've never
That's hilarious.
I have never been anywhere that they weren't both there. And they come and go talking to me. Never are both of them standing there at the same time. And so I have no clue who I'm talking to and who I haven't talked to something about when they're standing there. And I know, so we both know Austin Rutherford. And Austin, I think, is how I met your fiance. And he's like, well, their goatees look different. I'm like, but they're not standing next to each other, so I can't pick out the difference in their facial hair.
Oh yeah, they're only two telltale signs. I actually met them at the exact same time, and I never thought they looked alike. Well, exactly alike, but so Josh is a little shorter. He has a thinner face, and he has a beard that connects.
Okay.
And Jeremy only wears a goatee. He has a little wider face, and he's a little taller.
But they'd have to be standing next to each other to pick that out, I feel like.
Like, the beard thing is definitely the telltale because it's completely different.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to pay attention next time.
But I also think that when people meet twins, they just sort of go twins, and they know that they have different names and just never figure it out because they also have twin cousins that I know their names. I don't know which is which. So they don't even look alike.
Okay,
to me.
so but here's the thing, because they share an Instagram account too.
Yes.
I don't know, and they post all the kids together. I'm like, I don't know whose kids go to who. I know that you had a baby.
Yes.
Other than that, there's just a bunch of kids, and I don't know who the kids go to.
I feel like all of that was like strategic because yes, they just post kids and life and it's undiscernible 100%. But we have all girls and all the kids actually do look alike, which is like, I guess, a symptom of having twin fathers.
Yep.
And, but Jeremy has a son, so he's the only boy.
Oh my gosh.
Which is why everybody's trying to like pressure us to have more kids. And I'm kind of like, okay, I'm going to be 40 this year and no, thank you.
So I had my last one at 40. I'm 41. And my husband wants at least one more.
Wow.
I don't know, girl. And on some level, I'm like, and it's the same thing. Like, he doesn't have any boys. And on some level, I'm like, I got 5 kids. What's 6? But as I've gotten older, it's so much hard. I gain 80 pounds every time I get pregnant. And it's so hard to, I'm tired of losing baby weight. I'm tired of it. And
yes.
Like, I get that people, when you talk about that, they're like, yeah, but you're so blessed and lots of people can't have babies. Like, I totally agree with that. And I am not acknowledging that.
Yeah.
But it's also okay to be like, losing baby weight sucks.
Yes.
And, you know, when you're on stage and having to look nice all the time and you don't feel great about your appearance, it's hard.
Yeah.
And that's like, have you gone through that? You went from like this massive athlete's body that I'm sure took amazing like discipline to keep.
Yes. So the hardest thing for me has been that, like, even on my worst version of fitness, which I would have said was the years before I got pregnant, because I have been retired for 8 years, I still had abs. And then you have a baby. Like, I literally just, I was gaining weight, but I wasn't losing my abs. So I didn't really care about things, right? And then I have this baby and I mysteriously, like, I also gained 80 pounds. So
it's not just me.
That felt completely crazy to want to see the number 200 with my name attached to it.
I can remember being at one of my appointments being like, I will not weigh 200 pounds. I will not weigh 200 pounds. I think I delivered at like 202.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then being like, okay, so when I first started breastfeeding, I lost weight really fast.
I saw you right after that because you were at a retreat of mine pumping.
Yeah. But it was like crackhead fast. So my body looked crazy to me. Like, oh, you look sick. So I purposefully gained weight back so that I could lose it slower. But then I gained the weight back in a bad way, which is like eating bad and drinking alcohol and things. Yep. And so now it's been hard to get it back off, which is a whole nother reason why I'm all set on having another baby. Because I'm working super hard, daily exercises, detoxes and things.
And I don't know if it's like, because it is not normal that it's like this expectation.
So do we need 2 or 1?
Just 1. We're going to use the other one for this. So I'm going to take this one from you first.
Okay.
So it's not normal that the expectation for women is that, you know, we look like our pre-pregnancy selves pretty much immediately. However, that's kind of the expectation. Like, it's acceptable that you're whatever size.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it's not.
Yep.
So, I don't know.
The amount of people that I hear start complaining about their wives' size, like,
dude,
it's been 2 years. Do you know how fast 2 years goes?
Especially when you have no sleep.
Yes.
You're breastfeeding. You're running a business.
Right.
Like, it's a lot.
Exactly. I mean, I just didn't want to be the person who, like, you're out somewhere. And I remember even my mom being like, you know, my little brother is the reason why she didn't lose weight. And I'm like, but he's like 12, bro.
That's so funny. Okay, so back to where we started, because I feel like we always get so sidetracked. You hire a full-time nanny.
Yes.
So that you can continue to be, you know, boss babe businesswoman.
Yep.
And a mom.
And year 1, I pumped all the way. I mean, I pumped and I breastfed until she was 2 years old. And so I only left her one time because I had to pump 300 ounces. And I was like, oh, the cow life is not for me. So I'm just going to travel with the baby. Because I was still speaking. I swear
I saw you on an international flight with you and her by yourself traveling to, where were you going?
When she was about 6 months old, we went to Madrid so I could speak at a conference.
That's what it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
And back then, I was drinking my own Kool-Aid and I believed that I had mastered this like mom thing. But then she started being able to move.
That's so funny, because every time I meet a first-time mom, and I don't mean this like negatively to anybody, because I feel like when you first start, like you think you figured it out.
Yes.
And so like Instagram people giving advice when they have like a 6-month-old, you're like, girl, just wait.
Just wait.
Just wait. Even when they start walking,
yes.
It's like over.
It completely changed. Like she went from being like, oh, this is the best travel baby ever. Because even at your conference, nobody even realized she was there. Like she was just having a good time by herself, 1 year old, right? And then the walking and the talking. And now if I take her into...
And they scream and you can't get them to stop. You have no control over them screaming.
Because she wants pizza that she saw at a place that's not even open. So, and so now she'll go, Mom, you can't catch me. Starts running. And I'm like, girl, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to catch you. Come back over here. And so she's now been demoted to staying home.
Yeah, my husband and I have this thing where we constantly talk about like, we're in a season, which is how I started cooking so much. I've always enjoyed cooking.
Yeah.
And we have 2 babies that are 10 months apart. The youngest one is 10 months. The oldest one's not quite 2 yet. And our other kids are a little bit older, so it doesn't quite apply to them. But even going out to dinner with 2 babies that size, you're just fighting the baby the whole time. And I get that there's people who take their kids out to dinner and some babies do it, but it is not enjoyable. We would so much rather let them play and run around and have a good time at home and like make something really great ourselves. And it's been a really neat thing to do together, get really great at cooking. He actually made you some homemade sourdough bread. I have it over there for you to take home.
Nice.
That's been his like thing he's trying
bread baking.
Yeah, he's getting good at while we're in this season of like staying home.
Is he younger?
He is. He'll be 31 in May.
Okay.
And so kind of
we're similar, cougar life. Yeah, you know.
Okay, but the crazy part is on Instagram, people are always like, oh my God, is your husband even 18? I'm like, yes, I went to China and got someone who wasn't even 18 years old and had 2 babies with them. That's totally what I did. Like, have you never met any Asian people? They look fabulous, okay?
Right.
He's 30 years old. He is not like a baby. But if you see him in person, he has like gray hair and stuff like that. But on Instagram, they beat me up and act like I have like an 18-year-old husband.
That's hilarious. But also, because I am a fellow geriatric parent with a younger spouse, because he's only 33, and everybody assumes that we're the same age or that he's older than me, and I'm like, I love that for me.
That means you look good. That means you look good, girl. It's a compliment.
Yes. But
it also means it's now or never for you to have that next baby.
Yeah, and I'm on the fence on the subject, but it's also because what you don't realize when you don't have kids is the importance of time and the importance of like all of these things that are going on with the kids and trying to make them into good humans. Like, it's a bunch of work, way more work than like I gave it credit before having my own kids. Because when you don't have kids, you're like, I can't believe you got that baby with a pacifier at that age and all of that.
And then when you try taking the pacifier away, you're just like, keep it.
You know what? I don't have time for this. Exactly.
My almost 2-year-old still has a bottle because she steals it from the 10-month-old, right? And so and I get that people would like attack me over this. You're gonna mess up this, you're gonna mess up that. She shouldn't have that bottle. She still got the bottle because taking it away from her when she just steals it from the baby all the time is not working out.
Right.
So I get it.
And I also, and I get that from a psychological standpoint. We had a time period where our older kids behaved like babies because they weren't getting as much attention they felt. And so I would be like, why are you talking like that? And the baby is getting so much more attention. And so your 2-year-old is probably just saying, I was just the baby. I don't know what's going on. I want to be the baby.
I want to be the baby. That's my bottle. Yeah, I get it. So you hire the full-time nanny. You're going back and forth. You're traveling with her. But she starts walking and talking. Has that changed any now that she's 2.5?
Yes. So now she runs, rides a scooter really fast, talks. She still wears diapers, which is one of those things that I was like, I can't believe people have kids in diapers.
I totally disagree with the people who, and again, we all get to raise our kids however we want to, right? I I don't know if it was Josh or Jeremy, because again, they got the same Instagram account, so I never know who I'm talking to. One of them posted something about how do you get babies out of diapers? And I responded and I was like, you don't. I waited, because with my kids, if you tried to do it too early, it's this huge fight. There's a ton of accidents.
Yeah.
And it's horrible for you and the baby. If you wait till they're 3 years old, they're more developed. They're mentally more developed. For each kid, I literally wait until their 3rd birthday. We spend a whole weekend naked in the house, not us, the baby.
Yes.
No diaper. We set a timer. We go to the toilet every couple minutes, and within that weekend, they're totally potty trained. There's no accidents, no problems, and so much less stress for everybody. But that is not the like popular thing to do. They're like, oh, your baby's 2. It's time to be out of diapers, and then it's this like horrible thing for the parents and the baby.
Yes. So she is completely aware of potties, Pampers, all of the things. But I'll say, okay, we're gonna sit on the potty today. And she's like, no, thank you, Mom. Here's my Pamper. Please change my Pamper. And I'm like, if you can
just not ready.
If you can use all of these words, you really should be able to sit on the pot. And she'll say, okay, come on, let's go sit on the pot. And she just wants to sit there with the diaper on. And, you know, I don't really press the issue so much. I understand that she's like learning at her rate. And now when she gets, we also have way better diapers than like when we were kids. So she can't even feel that she's wet really. So now I see her being more conscious of wetness, and she'll just take the diaper off. Like, and then you'll just randomly walk by and she's like naked. And I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, my diaper was wet.
That's what's happening with the almost 2-year-old right now. She's like pulling the diaper off, and I know that that's one of the first signs, but
yeah,
I'm with you. We're not pushing it. So you still got the full-time nanny. She's staying home more.
Yes.
So how do you think is she going to go to school, or y'all going to homeschool?
She's going to homeschool.
Okay.
She follows now this Christian Montessori program. And so she has, I say she probably has the aptitude of about a 4-year-old who can't read. So she knows most things, which I'm like super proud. Like, we've been doing a good job of just making sure that she's doing educational things all the time. But she doesn't travel, but that's actually been good for Josh. He's had to spend time with the kids unbothered, because when I'm around, he kind of like just lets them lean on me. But if I'm not there, he has to like, okay, girls, let's go for a walk. Okay, girls, let's cook something together. And I've seen that change his dynamic with all the kids.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
Isn't it fun to watch them be really great dads?
Yes.
So she's getting older. She's going to be homeschooled. You think anything will change? Oh, it's always hard to know since you're not there yet.
So on the one hand, I was like, you know what? I might renege and put her in school. So I looked into American Heritage has a pre-K 3 program. And they have a 3-year wait list. And I'm just like, okay, so pregnant people are putting people in 3rd grade wait list. I got it. Obviously, I am just not a part of this life. And then I just started looking up, what are the active pods in Fort Lauderdale of homeschool kids, and what kind of activities are they doing? And I like started signing her up for that kind of stuff.
Like, we have a mutual friend, Dominique. Her kids even do like mock trial and all kinds of stuff down there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a ton of options for homeschool kids in the areas that you're in. Have you ever been to a homeschool conference?
No.
So in May, there's the FPEA, it's the Florida Homeschool Conference. And one of the great things about it is, because there's so many different curriculums. Like, one of the most common questions I get on Instagram is like, what curriculum do you use?
Yeah.
And there's like a million different curriculums, right? And you try and look on their website. Some of them have great websites, some of them don't. And they probably, I'm making this number up, but it feels like there's like 800 vendors there. And I'm not being dramatic. It's like forever. You can go see all of the different clubs and programs and curriculums, and it's really neat to go see all those in person and like look at them and see how they all work. So if you're really thinking about that, you should try and go to one of the homeschool conferences.
I'm definitely gonna go. So you were homeschooled?
I was homeschooled.
So what made your mother homeschool you? Because it was super unpopular.
Okay. So this is gonna be probably a little deeper than we normally go. When I had just turned 16, And I was going to regular school then, and I was attacked in a parking lot and raped.
Oh my gosh.
By a serial rapist. They found him like when I was in college. But after that, I didn't want to go back to school. And what sucked, we lived in a small town, and the police officer went and started asking the kids at school questions to determine my character. Even though the police department had like a DNA rape kit and all of this stuff. So all the kids at school knew what had happened.
Yeah.
So think about like the worst thing at that point in your life that's ever happened to you, and all of the kids know.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to go back to school. And I had a hard time with girls most of my life. So you add that in, and I didn't want to go back. So she started looking into the homeschool options, and we found Abeka. We had some other kids in our neighborhood that were homeschooled through Abeka. Abeka is an accredited homeschool program because it's through Pensacola Christian College.
Okay.
So you do all your normal homeschool stuff, only you mail off all the stuff to the school and they grade it, and you end up with a high school diploma at the end.
Okay.
Which is great for parents who work because it's like homeschooling in a box, right? It's all there and it's kind of done for you. So it's a lot easier. But it is still like that like common core curriculum, and they're learning similar to what you would learn in a regular school. So my kids started off with Abeka, and they don't use Abeka anymore. But it was a really great way for us to get started. But that's how I started being homeschooled, and I actually really, really liked it. I was able to finish high school at like 16 and start community college, and I felt like it was a really good option for me. And so as I started having my own kids, I knew it was a realistic option, right? Because I had been homeschooled, and back when I was homeschooled, homeschool kids were weird, and now it's like now it's like all the rich people want to homeschool their kids, right? It's the thing to do. But it gives you so much flexibility. We like come and go as we want, and the kids can homeschool anywhere. We don't really take summers off. We school all year and take breaks. So the lifestyle it gives us, plus being able to decide what the kids learn, is what caused me to continue homeschooling.
Yeah.
So.
And they've never asked to go to school.
My oldest daughter she's 13. She has moments where she's like, I want to go to school. But then I'm like, you got to get up at 5 a.m. She's like, never mind, I don't want to go.
Yeah, the ramifications of the decision change things really quickly.
Yes, they very quickly are like, yeah, I don't think so. So so as a kid, we both grew up in the South.
Yes.
My grandmother used cast iron cooking for everything.
Yes.
But for some reason, I was always like scared of it. Like cleaning it and how you take care of it. It's like almost intimidating.
Yes.
So one of the first classes, my husband and I love taking cooking classes. And so one of the first things that we took was a cast iron cooking class. And it was so much easier to clean than I thought.
Yeah.
So ever since then, we pretty much use all cast iron because it's so much healthier and a lot better option. So you want to work on the steak?
Okay.
Do you cook?
I do.
Really?
Basically, I cook every day for a lunch or dinner, and then the nanny cooks the other meals. And I'm like sending her recipes because she's used to cooking for people who don't season their food. So she's like, you guys aren't eating our food. And the kids is like, girl, cause it's nasty.
That's hilarious. So you're sending her recipes.
So I'm sending her recipes, and she's been doing a great job with the recipes. So like she can follow instructions. I'm like, great, this is the way. So Monday she made beef and broccoli. That was amazing, but spicy version because I like everything spicy.
And so what is one of your favorite things to cook at home?
Gumbo.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Once I learned how to make the roux, and I just prefer to cook because I need to know what is inside of everything. So when I was an athlete, I was cooking every day just because I didn't want additives in the food. So,
and that was back before everybody cared about that.
Yes. And it's basically because when you run track, you are butt naked all alone. And so the smallest things make the largest difference in terms of that 100th of a second. That's the difference between the winner and the loser.
Yeah. So you have to focus on being really lean.
Yeah.
How do you keep a healthy mindset with like the difference in being like healthy versus not?
No pressure in being perfect. if you mess up or you have a day where you're like, I went to a conference, everybody was having old fashions. I had one too, and a fried chicken burger, you know? And being okay knowing that everything in moderation is fine and you can always like start over, get back, all of that. But I also, because I am from the South, so my grandparents are in their 90s and they eat everything, like literally bacon for breakfast.
It's crazy to think of that because before COVID, we had 5 generations of women alive still. And
whoa,
it's crazy, right? And so my great grandmother died during COVID. She was in her late 90s. And like you said,
is this for me?
This is for you, but you don't need it yet.
Okay.
She literally ate everything. But what I noticed was her eat everything did not mean like boxed macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
It did not mean like some kind of sauce from a can. Those things they eat everything. They eat dessert, they eat bacon, but pretty much everything was still
semi-natural. Right. Yes, exactly. So like my grandparents do own a farm. So
okay.
It doesn't have animals on it, but it's a fruit farm.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, we own orange groves
state?
here in Florida.
That's amazing.
Yep. And so I grew up with the fresh squeezed orange juice and homemade mango ice cream and all of that.
Have you tried to buy some orange juice lately? Like one thing, orange juice is like $9.
No.
Last time I went to the grocery store, I'm like, we ain't buying no orange juice.
So I only ever buy orange juice from the side of the road.
You have that in further south? We don't have that here. But
in Davie, they have basically an orange grove, and they sell Florida oranges and orange juice. So the thing that people don't know about Florida oranges is they don't sell them in stores because they're ugly. So they're only used for juice, which is why Florida orange juice is so popular.
That's interesting. So my husband and I went and visited an orange grove when we were living in Central Florida.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how the oranges had all gotten orange trees had all gotten some kind of disease.
Canker.
Within the last couple years. And so Florida's orange growth is struggling because of that.
Yes. We ended up...
How do you like your steak cooked?
A medium.
Okay, so let's add a little bit of butter.
All right.
Perfect. We're gonna do a little bit of soy sauce because remember we're making our hibachi.
Yeah.
So give a little bit of that soy sauce and then move it all around so it gets the good yummy soy sauce part in it. You got a little bit of butter in there. We like a whole lot more butter, but we're losing baby weight. And then next we're gonna put in some salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder.
Okay.
Just a little bit more flavor because
you really are from the South.
I know.
Onion powder in anything, garlic powder in anything.
Everything.
That's right.
And so it's so funny when you said they cook stuff without any flavor because my husband is like from Asian, right? He's like not American Chinese. And he had this perception when we got married that like white people's food doesn't have any flavor.
Yes.
And so he got here and he's like, oh my gosh, you have so much seasonings and all this stuff. What is all this black pepper?
Hilarious.
So mixing together our culture's food has been really fun. But I don't remember what we were talking about before we started at food.
Canker.
We're talking about the orange groves.
Orange groves. So yeah, they now use hybrid seeds to avoid canker in
yeah, they were telling us about all these things they like inject into the bottom of the trees and all sorts of things to try and combat that. So it was really interesting to tour that farm. So I'm curious, I know that your fiance flips houses. Do y'all do any kind of business together?
Nope.
None at all?
Nope.
How did you make that decision?
It wasn't a decision more or less than it was just like we've been operating our own businesses separately forever and just like respect everybody's process and like at some point we'll probably give them money or something like that, which is how like our conversation really started the first night we were introduced, where it's just like, yeah, I own a mortgage company, we do flip houses a little bit, but not that much because I am really risk averse. So I only want to do it if we have like a huge margin and like it's not that much work.
Yep.
Whereas they're doing this as a business. They're flipping.
Like that's legit their full-time job.
Yes, with what I consider to be like thin margins, but you have to just do it at volume.
Volume.
Yeah. So that freaks me out. So, you know, different strokes, different folks. We yes.
Okay, so I'm curious because I feel like everybody on the internet right now is like, oh, you can raise private money for this and you can raise private money for that. Mm-hmm. And as an SEC attorney, do you like start fuming and like flames coming out your head, or you think what they're doing is okay? Okay, if you want to keep you at medium, you can move you over here.
Okay.
I'm the crazy redneck that eats well-done steak.
Okay.
So you can put your medium over here so we don't overcook yours.
It's okay. Let's put a little over. Huh?
Yep.
There we go.
So, SEC attorney,
yes.
Everybody
okay.
on the internet's raising private money.
I don't have a problem with what they're doing. I have a problem with how they're characterizing it and making sure that they are giving full context. So the difference between a securities offering for debt and a private money lender is subordination. So if you have 10 people who give you, let's say, $100,000 for $1 million project, you have to explain to them that the money comes in and it creates a lien position, which is different than a securitized debt raise where everybody shares a piece of a first lien position. So I don't think they tell people that enough.
So do you think it's the transparency that's missing?
Yeah, and I just think they don't know.
I was going to say that. I don't think it's an intentional manipulation.
Yeah.
I think because all the influencers that are like, you can raise private money without any instructions on how to do it properly, they do it without all the things they're supposed to talk about, and they can end up in huge trouble.
Yes. So the SEC is an administrative agency, and so they can do things that normal justice doesn't look like freeze your accounts if you get if a person accuses you, they can freeze your accounts and make you prove that you did nothing wrong, which for most people, if you're an investor, that can ruin the investment by itself. And so now you look even worse.
Of course.
So the other thing is that the thing that most people think is safe is the one thing that isn't, and that is 70% of complaints come from friends and family.
Shut up.
Yeah, so everybody's like, I don't need the paperwork because, you know, it's my cousin and my mama and my somebody, you know, people that I know really well. And I'm like, yeah, they'll be the first people to tell on you.
Okay, so let's talk this through. So imagine I'm a total newbie investor. Mm-hmm. Maybe I've done a deal or two. I've used all of my own money and I'm ready to start scaling.
Yep.
I learn about this thing called private money lending and I'm like, okay, I've got this deal and I want to go find 2 or 3 people to invest so that I'm able to scale without using any of my own money. Because that's what we're told on the internet we can do, right?
Yes.
So, but it's also my third deal. I don't have $25,000 to go build SEC documents with an attorney and go down that. I'm not even ready to do that. I don't know what most of that means.
Right.
How could I raise for this first deal without going full-blown syndication?
Yeah, so you can get them to be lenders with you, or you can get them to be partners with you. So
the debt versus equity.
Yes. So debt, they get a promissory note, and you're telling them first money in, first lien position, second money in, second lien position, third money in, third lien position. So you guys have a note against the property. If something were to happen, let's say we don't finish the project and we have to liquidate, if we have less than the amount that you gave me,
you're the first person that gets
the first person gets all their money, the second person gets all their money, the third person may not get their money. So you have to explain it like that. Then,
and when you say explain, does this mean in a legal document? So if they complain, you have proof?
What I tell people all the time, none of the paperwork is for the investors, the paperwork is for you, because they're going to lie on you.
Okay, say that one more time because everybody needs to hear it.
The paperwork is not for the investors, the paperwork is for you, because they're going to lie on you. They're going to say, they never told me this, they never said this, I didn't know. No, I didn't know that there was this much risk. And you're like, page 72 says we can lose all the money. It also says that I've done this before, but this has nothing to do with the future. And I have nothing to do with the acts of God and this and that. So
essentially disclaimers.
the entire document book that everybody thinks is a waste of time is nothing but disclaimers. But it protects you from people lying on you. And so that's on the debt side. On the equity side, the sale of securities is actually when a person is giving you money and they expect a return for doing no work. And so that's the sale of securities. If the person is saying, I'm giving you money to become your partner, to become your JV partner, I'm going to be involved, I'm going to have a vote, I'm going to have a say, an active participant.
This is not a silent partner.
This is not a silent partner. Now you can sell that equity to anybody you want, and they'll sign documents as a coherent grown-up, and you have to let them be involved, but that's the other way to do it.
So basically what you're telling me, if we go back to I'm this newbie investor, I'm doing my third deal and I want to raise some money from people, as long as I have really great documentation, we should be okay.
Everything in writing is true, everything you say, not true.
So what about talking about it on social media, saying, hey, I'm raising money?
So if you don't have an SEC exemption, you cannot do that. So an SEC exemption is what most people think about: regulation crowdfunding, regulation D, raises, all of that. It's only a few documents that you have to file that allows you to do that. But if you don't file it, you may get a disallowed exemption, which means that the SEC can say you illegally sold securities, and that's a federal crime.
And what happens with a federal crime?
You can go to jail and get fined.
So essentially you're saying, do not
cut it out.
Do not wing this, and do not talk about it on social media if you don't have your documentation in place.
Exactly. And if you are intending to raise money from people who are unaccredited, you can never advertise. It is that rule that allows you to take unaccredited investors' money, unaccredited people being people who make less than $200,000 a year, or as a couple less than $300,000, or have less than $1 million net worth, or no securities licenses. They got a bunch of ways for you to get in there now. But if they don't qualify for any of those things, you can only sell if you have a prior relationship with those people. And so even I see people do this, and they're like, well, the person opted in, I talked to them, blah, blah, blah. And then
we had an hour phone call.
Yeah, and then I sent a mass mailer. I said mass mailers are called public solicitation. So you've got to send them one by one, maybe 10 by 10s. You might get away with that, but like sending it through ConvertKit to the 2,000 people who said they were interested in hearing about deals, no
your
way.
Email list,
yes,
or
no
to
way.
the people who are following you. Why do you think so many people get this wrong, since it's such a big deal legally?
Because most people aren't that concerned with what's legal. They are trying to do what they're trying to do. And
do you think they aren't concerned because they don't understand how much trouble they can get in? And so this is how I think of residential real estate versus commercial.
Yeah.
The people I meet who started out in residential real estate as an investor, I'm not talking about being an agent.
Yeah.
They have this mentality of, I will ask for forgiveness instead of permission.
yes,
Which you can pull off if you have a house.
yes,
You cannot pull that off in commercial real estate. You end up shut down, huge
Right.
fines. You have to redo it, which is tens of thousands of dollars, not just a slap on the wrist and like, now I need to apply for a permit. Do you see this as something like that, where they don't understand the trouble they can get in?
I believe that for sure, because what most people don't realize is the more you're involved in securities and commercial real estate and all of that, there's an assumption that you are sophisticated. So you don't get the like play dumb excuse.
Like with residential.
Yeah, they're like, poor me, I'm stupid, I just bought houses, or I just got one for free, all of that kind of stuff. And like treat me like a consumer. You don't get treated like a consumer when you are on the business side of real estate.
And you're advertising, I'm amazing at this, so you should invest in me.
That's right.
And then you won't play dumb.
Exactly. You can't be both dumb and smart.
So I'm curious, with all of the things you do, I mean, you're literally like Superwoman with all the things you do. What is something that you're like, what are you the most excited about that you're working on?
I'm most excited about a couple of things. So we took 500 investors to Birmingham at the beginning of the year to buy infill lots from their land bank. And so we're financing it and helping them through the process. So these are all first-time builders. So that's been a little bit challenging, but I'm really excited to see people get through their first project, get that ending paycheck of 40 to 80 grand, which for most of the people, it'll change their lives. And so that's been our passion project for the year. So I'm really excited about, so I built a fund to do the lending for the construction loans there.
Talk to me about how you do that, because that's a lot of people and a lot of moving parts. So you are the fund manager for that?
So I'm the fund manager for the loans.
Okay.
There's a community of people who are learning together about all of the components that go into permitting and picking a builder and picking materials and all of that. And so that's kind of the risk hedge. So I would never give 100% cost of construction to a new person who's never done construction unless I had guardrails on who are the suppliers, who is the builder, who are the architects, who is the permit runner, and all of that. So we're protecting the money by having controls over it as a community as opposed to like just individuals. And then helping, so my part is making sure that we have good underwritten deals and the money is protected just in case they don't finish the project.
So this is an interesting mix between education, essentially. These people are learning how to do it from y'all as
real
they
time.
go. And they get their money. How do people qualify to be in this program with you? Or a program with you is probably the wrong way to word it, but
because the program isn't my program. It's the land bank fund. The land bank community is Charles Noonan, that's his group. And they sort of self-elected that they wanted to be involved and that they had credit, time, capacity to learn and get this done in a 1-year process. Because from the time that you buy from the land bank, you get a great piece of property for $5,000. And so now you've got a free and clear property, but you only have 1 year to build. So making sure that you have all your ducks in the row, all your things ready to get under construction. Although most of the houses that they've done that have been completed so far only took about 45 to 60 days because it's just a single family little house, you know, nice starter homes for the community. They're really rebuilding and putting a lot of effort into that in the city of Birmingham. So they self-elected, which I think like life is all about self-electing. You kind of just got to be like, if not me, then who?
I agree with that. I love that. Okay. So do you think you'll do a project like this again?
Yes. The requisite though is having a team of people who are GCs and all of the components, people who really care about making sure that they're doing it well and it's not just about how profitable they can be. And then having a city that's on board and excited and wanting to like help with the process, because the worst thing you can do in like infill building or even flipping and that kind of stuff is being in a city that they hate you and they don't want to help you.
Gosh. Yeah, like permitting and zoning can literally make you go broke.
Yes.
So I think doing a project like that where you have the city on board is like rule number one.
Yes. And so from I guess my total vision give back is going to be always helping build community around affordable housing, building. And it could be bigger projects at some point. But I take that from the leadership of the community. So if I was involved with a community that built multifamily, I guess they'd be building multifamily, but it's just it's their thing. I just make sure they get the money. They have the capacity to do the things. I'm like I want to be the helper of the doers. Like, you want to do something? I'll help you get the money. I'm going to help you figure it out. I'm going to help you build a team around it. And so I'm always excited to do that, especially 60% of my clients are retired athletes and entertainers. And
when you say clients, people that you raise money from or invest money for?
Neither.
What do you mean when you say clients?
Okay, so I mean that they come to me because they are trying to solve for the 4 Ps: privacy, asset protection, wealth preservation, and philanthropy.
Okay.
And I'd help them with strategy and implementation. So that's a lot of documents to make sure that they have trust in holding companies and nonprofits and all of that kind of stuff. And that they are presenting themselves to the world in a way that makes people want to do business with them, do deals with them, because most people think that real estate is a game about deals, but it's really a game about people. And so like building relationships and like doing deals with people who are already in the game is the easiest way to protect yourself and your money. And so I help them with that. And then in that process, that preservation piece, we are looking for deals. They're investing in things, not necessarily with me, but through my connections to different opportunities, because we're really trying to solve for cash flow. Athletes go broke because they don't understand cash flow cycle to cover the lifestyle they want.
Well, and obviously that eventually ends, that they're getting so much cash.
Yes.
And sometimes abruptly.
Yes.
So what kind of advice are you giving them?
And
know that no different for flippers or wholesalers, real estate investors selling stuff. We
people
get these
who
big
get
influxes
windfalls.
of cash. Yeah.
Exactly. So my advice is always don't diversify.
Which is the opposite of what most people say,
Yeah.
right?
So everybody says diversify, diversify, diversify. And I say, yeah, well, don't invest in anything you don't understand. Mm-hmm. So you can't go from something you do really well and you know really well and then be like, okay, I need to diversify because other people said I should.
Okay, so I feel that way about stocks.
Okay.
Right? Because I understand real estate. I'm great at real estate investing. Mostly RV parks because that's what I started. I've got 14 years of experience in that. And so when people are like, Heather, why aren't you buying stocks? I know nothing about stocks.
Right.
Also, my brain does not work that way, right? I've spent so many years getting really great at RV parks that have great cash flow. Why the heck would I stop and figure out stocks?
Exactly.
I haven't found anybody who's given me a good reason.
Because the entire business of finance is built on people investing in things they don't understand so that someone else can make a fee on them understanding it more than you. Don't do that. Which is like, yes, people who drive Rolls Royces taking advice from people who ride the bus is nuts. And we have made that into a complete thing of, you got an MBA from Harvard, congratulations. And it's like, that doesn't mean they actually know anything.
Don't mean anything yet, yeah.
So, most of it is slow down. Everybody's coming at you a million miles an hour. You're also being emotional because you are changing what you've been doing. So slow down. Don't be in a rush. You can take your time, get to know people. If you're going to invest with someone else, make sure you completely understand what's going on. Make sure they care about having you involved, that kind of stuff. And then if you want stocks, I do suggest that you use an advisor for that, because you're not going to pay enough attention to that game. So
yeah, I'm not looking to be full-time analyzing.
Exactly. Watching the news, figuring out what's going on. And so yeah, buying an index fund is simple, but also, are you okay if the market tanks by 20% like a week ago, and just like, can you mentally not look at it, not move?
Roller coaster,
exactly.
Right?
And you can't do anything about it. And that's why I don't like games. I'm not at least some part of the cog. I don't necessarily want to work in all of the businesses, but I do want to be able to say, shut that down. Let's go get another line of credit. Let's do this. Let's sell that. Let's move over here. I need to be a part of the conversation that can solve the problem. At least I believe I have enough capacity to do that. And if I don't want to be in it.
So you're telling them don't diversify.
No, I'm telling exactly. I'm saying, okay, what are you interested in? Let's learn more about it. You're probably going to realize about 6 months in, you're not that interested in it. So, because everything sounds great because you've heard it from some person telling you a half story on the internet, right? And then
it's not even a half story, it's a 15-second clip.
Exactly. And everybody's giving you highlight reels, none of the work. It's like, to believe that you can become an NBA player by just being tall and talented is ridiculous, right? But they're gonna, like, that's what they try to sell you in any type of business and investing on the internet. Totally talented, I work hard, I plunge, I do all of these things that add a little bit of value, but I'm not telling you about the hundreds of thousands of dollars in mistakes that I made, which are lessons that help me be better, right? So you need the lessons, but it takes time and it takes all of the things, right? So let's lean into something. So it's easier to learn how to swim in the water than it is by reading books. So I really just want you to like iterate, try, see how it goes. You know, small calculated bets, not necessarily, I don't want you to hit for the fences. So no $1 million investments, but do the thing. Get around the people who do the thing. Get in the room with the best of the people who do the thing. So don't just be like, you know what, I think I wanna buy RV parks, and then I'm gonna go and just only talk to people who sell RV parks, because of course they're gonna give you the advice of a person who wants to make commission, not the advice of a person who's made money doing the business.
So it sounds like not only do you have the legal side of that for them, you also have the mentorship and coaching that goes along with it.
You get my care, which ChatGPT told me is my blind spot in business, is that I lead too much with heart. So like, I'm just giving all of that. All of that is just like free. All right, I'm gonna do these documents for you. I'm gonna take you to these events, but like, this is really how you should think about life. And this is how you should like move as it pertains to investing. So when I was young, my father used to say, an investment that's gonna cost you happiness and peace is too expensive. So once you've figured out how to make money, we don't do things that cost us happiness and peace. That's it. Chill at home, enjoy your kids, do the things. If me giving this person 100,000, 500,000, whatever the case may be, and it goes to zero, is gonna cause me happiness, peace, and make me wanna kill him, don't do it.
It's not worth it.
Yes.
So changing topics a little bit. When you first came in, you were talking about how I had packed up my kids and moved for a little bit. Yes. We've lived in South Florida for, I think, 7 years now. And we moved here, the 3 kids and I, from Tennessee because I wanted to live somewhere warm all year. And the weather down here is freaking unbeatable. I'm sure you can relate, coming from Virginia. And it's been amazing for the weather. We're freaking spoiled.
Yes.
But we don't have a lot of community here. There aren't other families for us to have dinner with and be buddies with. My kids, aren't friends with the neighbors. And growing up in the South, we knew everybody. How is it for you? And is Virginia similar? So
Virginia is super similar. I played with my neighbors my entire life. My first best friend was my neighbor when I was 6 years old, and we are still friends, actually. She spoke at my last conference.
I love that. You don't hear that anymore. I love that.
And so that's there are small things. It's sort of like, I miss Virginia for community, for friendliness. Like, everybody's going to tell you good morning. Everybody's going to say excuse me if they bump you.
Dude, where we live is walkable to kind of our downtown area. And my husband and I, as you're walking by, we're like, hi. They don't even say hi back. They don't even acknowledge that you were on the sidewalk with them.
No.
And so we tried moving to Central Florida. For some reason, we thought we would like it there. We lived there for 3 months. And it was not for us. It took an hour to get everywhere. And basically, if you don't want to go to Disney every day for the rest of your life, there's no point being in Central Florida. And I get that there's more to Central Florida than that, but for us, it just wasn't that great. We also had a really hard time finding a church there. There wasn't one that we found that we loved. So we got to thinking about it, and let's move back to Tennessee. My parents are there, all my employees are there, my businesses are there. Let's move back to Tennessee. And keep in mind, our house is on the market. This has kind of been the worst time in a long time to sell your house, which started about the time we put our house on the market. We were going through the election, and then which was a pro and a con, depending on which side of the table you were on. But people have kind of been at this standstill, especially in the price point in my neighborhood, because my neighborhood is a lot of people's second homes out of New York City. So people are thinking, what are these tariffs going to do to my business? Even if they're for Trump, they're still looking to see how it's going to affect them. And if they're against Trump, then obviously we know all the things there too. They're still looking to see how is this going to affect my business,
right?
Regardless of what side of the fence you're on there. So my neighborhood, the city I live in, has kind of been at a standstill because, and I think a lot of the country with some of the higher price points for real estate. And so I didn't really want to buy another primary residence yet while the house was on the market. So I'm like, okay, let's go try Tennessee. Let's look for a midterm rental and we can see if we actually want to live here before we spend money on a house. And we started looking for this midterm rental, and it was the same price to stay in a midterm rental in Tennessee as it was in the panhandle of Florida. Well, this was December, so it was so freaking cold. I'm like, okay, let's try the panhandle, which it actually snowed in the panhandle while we were there. Like snowing at the beach in Florida while we were there. The kids thought it was amazing. I thought it was too cold and didn't leave the house. But we loved the panhandle. Have you ever been to like Santa Rosa area or Seaside?
Never. I've been to Pensacola once, and
I feel like everybody's been to spring break in that area at some time.
When I think about the Panhandle, I think Lower Alabama. What are they doing over there?
Okay, me too. Being from Mississippi, people go to Destin on like that's where their summer vacation is. So that was also my idea of it. One of the huge pros to that is that you get that really nice southern hospitality. You're still in Florida, you're still on a beautiful beach, but you've got the southern hospitality of all the people around you. And Santa Rosa is a little more of a upscale area for the panhandle. And one nice thing for real estate is they are not right at sea level. There's this, you have to like walk down some stairs to get down to the beach. And so from like a hurricane standpoint, like being up higher is great for your house. Not what we are here in South Florida.
Underwater.
So we loved that area. It was kind of cold, but it didn't fix my other problem. Even though we were looking for community, we also wanted a more realistic budget for a house. And when I say that, I don't mean like I needed something super cheap, but my property taxes in South Florida were like $49,000 this year. And my homeowner's insurance is like $1,800 a month or something. So I'm 40 years old. As I'm thinking about the future, even if you have a paid off house, I don't want $100,000 just in property taxes and insurance. When I bought the house here, I made a mistake that I didn't know I didn't know. I teach to all of my students, I'm like, economies of scale is real. Buy in the areas that you know or that you learn and get really great at that area. Because not only can you like share employees, your suppliers will give you better deals, your contractors, because you can use them regularly. You can have a team. But I didn't take my own advice when I did this. So I bought the house in Florida without knowing better, and it's in an LLC, which means my house is not homesteaded. And when you came in, you were like, Heather, what are you doing? So talk me through that, because that is not something that all states have.
Yes. Homestead is the best version of asset protection in the country, especially in Florida. That's why you see a lot of people move here who have huge judgments from other places. And it's because you can park all your money inside of a house and you have complete whole protection over that property, up to a half acre in the city, up to 50 acres outside of the city, where lien holders can't force you to sell, they can't attach the house, all that kind of stuff. But also you have a reduction in your assessed value by $50,000 a year, and then you have a cap on how much your taxes can go up annually. So the difference being 7%. So homestead properties goes up 3% a year is the cap. Investment properties can go up to 10% a year, and reassessment and things like that is what kills a lot of deals we've been seeing in this market, because most people don't know about things like portability. So portability is, if you have a homestead property, you can take the amount of your homestead exemption and move it to your new house. So you keep that basis and you get to not have, like, you could be moving into a much bigger house and still save quite a bit on taxes with portability, and you have 3 years to apply. It's just something that people don't talk about. And
like, seriously, why is this not talk? All the people, all these gurus on the internet that want to give you all this advice.
Yeah.
Why don't they talk about this?
I think that most people think that owning things in your personal name is terrible, right? And so the one thing that I like had to go and learn over time, I went to the property assessor. Shout out to Marty Kiar. He's been our appraiser in Broward County forever. And he's like, oh, the way that you do this and keep it private is you put it in a living trust, and the beneficiary has to be the homestead owner. That's it. So you can keep your privacy and keep your homestead protection. And I was like,
this is why people hire you.
yeah, wow. You just got to get to the information, which I've come to the conclusion that like all the good information is everything that's not well attended. So like all of it.
It's the look on the conference schedule, find the least interesting sounding class, and that's the one you should
And
go
they
to.
have all of the little gems that like everyone else is missing that like changes the scope of things. There was only 10 people at this event that Marty Kiar comes in and he teaches. And I'm like, this is gold. Right. And then he's like, yes. And if you have a problem with an assessment, this is the steps that you do to fight to keep your assessment low. And I'm like, people do this. I had no idea. So it's like all of those things.
That's amazing. Okay. Well, I guess I got to figure that out now. Well, it has been so nice catching up with you today and having you for lunch. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. It was delicious, and always great time to catch up.